Welcome to our latest video, this time about Swarovski Z8 2 to 16 by 50. You have probably noticed that we have been away for a while, so I think this is a great opportunity to start new series of videos, and this time with probably the most important product in 2016. This is the Swarovski Z8 new top of the range scope made in Austria. This scope was introduced at IVA show in 2016. It was the biggest news of the show and also probably the biggest news in this hunting industry in this year. The Z8 series comes a couple of years after the very successful Z6. I personally think that this was a direct answer to the Carl Zeiss V8 scope. So as you can see, the top players are extending their zoom ratio. So a couple of years ago, 6x zoom was almost something uncommon, or at least really unusual. Now the top players are coming to 8x zoom. In essence, we were all waiting for this scope to see what Swarovski will do after the presentation of the Zeiss V8. So if you look, they refined quite a few things which were ready to improve on the Z6 line. The first thing was that they did a scope which is far more bright, so a couple of percent higher light transmission rate, of course 8x zoom, even wider field of view, and I think personally that this model is going to be their best seller with a 50mm objective lens, and this medium size, it's a perfect all-rounder. It can be used for everything. With a 16 magnification and a parallax, adjustable parallax, you can shoot really far. I will talk later also about the ballistic turret possibility on this scope. And with the magnification going all the way down to 2, you can also use it for rapid target acquisition at close range, since it has 21 meters of field of view. This is really a lot of field of view for a scope with a 50mm objective lens. In contrary to Z6 line, all Z8 scopes come with a illuminated reticle. There are no options for non-illuminated reticle, and you can see that illumination control is still located on top of the eyepiece. However, this time it is slicker, nicer and smaller. If you compare it to the second generation of the Z6, which we have here, you can see that the illumination controls and the housing, it's smaller, it's slicker and nicer. It still has the same basic principles, so a preset for low light illumination or bright daylight illumination, then plus and minus buttons for finer adjustment, really similar to Z6. And I think that majority of users will have no problems switching from Z6 to Z8. Normally the scope is fully waterproof, it is shockproof for any kind of caliber and filled with dried nitrogen for total fog proofness. That means even if the temperatures are really low, there will be no internal fogging. What is also new is that the box in which the scope comes, it's much nicer with a really nice picture on it. It's nice, it is better than it was on the Z6 line. The scope itself is 36mm long and it weighs approximately 650 grams, so a really light scope for this size. It comes in a 30mm tube, for which the Swarovski company is really proud, since they are saying that to achieve 8x zoom in a 30mm tube, you really need to have really tight tolerances, and that this is a big achievement. I believe them, but however, we have to be objective, that we have to also be true that there are other manufacturers in the world, smaller, who produce scopes with a 30mm tube which even have 10x zoom. Nevertheless, the scope comes with a 10 years warranty and it's fully made in Austria. All the reticles are second focal plane, that means very thin on high magnification. They're located in the eyepiece part and all of them are illuminated. They're very thin and very similar to a Z6 line. Currently there are 4 different reticles available in this scope. With the illumination, I think it's worth mentioning that it has the same automatic turn-off function like the Z6. That means the position sensor, which feels if the scope is canted to either side or directed downwards or upwards, and it turns off the illumination. When you use the scope again in the horizontal position for aiming, it immediately turns on again. The reaction time is just amazing. It's really quick. So all points here. The illumination itself has almost unlimited levels of intensity, of brightness, and you can really set it nice all the way from totally dimmable settings for low light all the way up to extremely bright intensity for daytime use. I think currently this is one of the brightest illuminations in the world. Well, we have to be honest, also other premium manufacturers of scopes, some of them also have really bright illuminations. The turret, here I think that the biggest change was made. As you can see, the turret looks really complex with inner part, outer part and so on. You can easily reset it, you can see it here. But the main point of this turret is that installation of the ballistic turret, it's now really easy and simple. You can buy the ballistic turret as a separate accessory and just put it on without any tools on the scope. There are 70 clicks in 1 revolution if you put on the ballistic turret, and each click is 1 centimeter. So basically they really extended long-range capabilities of this scope. I also like these turrets much more than I did the previous ones, even though they are still made out of plastic. The tracking is superb, at least this is claimed by Swarovski, and since I have quite a few experience with their X5 series, I believe them, that they have a really good tracking. The same elevation, the same ballistic turret goes either on elevation or on a side turret. So in this regard, it's a quite unique feature, and we will do a separate video about the new ballistic turret on the Swarovski Z8 line. If I do a short summary, I would say that this is among the best hunting scopes on the market at the moment. The optics is just phenomenal. The wide field of view, no tunnel effect whatsoever. You really fall into the picture. And also the eye box or sensitivity of the eye position, there is really no sensitivity to the eye position. You immediately get the picture. So in general, I would say that for someone who is looking for really in optical terms for one of the best scopes on the market at the moment, this is definitely one of the best choices. What I also like about these scopes is that they're really 30mm tube. You can also get them with rail if you wish. This model has a Swarovski rail. I also think that this is the preferred way how to mount the scope. The rail versions are just nicer and easier to mount and more reliable and so on. I still, even though you're able to order the scope with the rail, I still think that the 30mm tube is much nicer in style than bigger tubes. I also think that the light transmission rate is now, even though this is a super zoom scope, it's on a really high level, which is very positive. And I also think that with this new ballistic turret, which has more clicks than the older versions on the Z6, they extended the range the long range capabilities of these scopes, which is very positive. I always try to finish our reviews with some comments about where is still room for improvement. And for this scope, this is really hard. I would say that in my personal opinion, I think that the ballistic turrets could be a little bit more robust. Now they're made from plastic, but for hunting this is totally okay. This is not a military or a tactical scope. I would also say that maybe more clicks in one revolution would be okay. But again, this is a hunting scope, not really a tactical long range scope. And if I'm really picking hairs, I would say that maybe the illuminated dot could be a little bit smaller, even though it's really small already. All in all, almost a perfect scope, probably one of the best, if not the best, on the market at the moment for hunters. Thank you for watching. If you have any additional questions, use our comments. Please subscribe and visit our webpage.